Okay, so let's get right into it. We're at the United Nations Security Council, looking at a situation where a single vote has put one of the world's most critical shipping lanes right on the brink. And believe me, this isn't just some dry political debate. The outcome here has very real consequences for global trade and security. So the first move is a resolution, and it has some serious support. We're talking 11 nations on board. They're trying to send a clear message. Iran needs to stop what it's doing in the Strait of Hormuz and make sure all ships can pass through safely. But then, the whole power dynamic just shifts. Two of the permanent members, Russia and China, cast their votes against the resolution. With that single move, they used their veto power, stopping the whole thing and completely overruling the will of the majority. And just like that, despite having overwhelming support, the resolution fails. The diplomatic effort is completely blocked. This brings up a huge question. How did two votes manage to overpower 11? And more importantly, why does this one decision matter so much to the rest of the world? All right, first up, let's unpack the case that was brought against Iran. The countries that backed the resolution, well, they painted a picture of a nation that was deliberately threatening global stability. The United States really frames this as something much bigger than just a regional dispute. They're arguing that by controlling this waterway, Iran is, in effect, holding the entire global economy hostage. And the supporters of the resolution, they laid out a whole series of really serious charges. They accused Iran of this widespread campaign of destabilization, everything from direct attacks on commercial ships in neighboring countries, all the way to blocking critical humanitarian aid that was meant for crises around the world. And to really hammer home the real-world impact of all this, the UK's representative presented some pretty stark data. I mean, look at this. Daily traffic through this vital trade artery has just plummeted, from an average of 150 vessels a day down to just 9. That is a catastrophic drop. But as you might expect, Iran offered a very different story. From their point of view, their actions aren't aggression at all, but actually a necessary and lawful response to a war that's being waged against them. So Iran sees this resolution as basically a political weapon. They're arguing that its real purpose isn't about promoting peace, but about punishing them for simply defending themselves against what they see as ongoing aggression. And this really gets to the heart of the disagreement, right? What one side sees as an illegal blockade, the other sees as a totally lawful act of self-defense. They are looking at the exact same events through two fundamentally different lenses. Iran's argument was that the council was ignoring the bigger picture. They pointed to what they called a direct, unlawful, and brutal war started by the US and Israel, and that includes repeated attacks on their peaceful nuclear facilities and even public threats against their civilian infrastructure. So back to our big question. With 11 countries voting yes, how in the world did this resolution fail? Well, it all comes down to the unique and, frankly, immense power of the veto. To really get this, we need a quick look at how the UN Security Council works. It's got 5 permanent members. That's China, France, Russia, the UK, and the US. Any one of these nations can block a resolution with a single no vote, and it doesn't matter how the other 14 members vote. And that is precisely what happened here. You can see the division clear as day. A strong majority in favor, but those 2 no votes from Russia and China were enough to kill the resolution entirely. And you can see Pakistan and Colombia chose to abstain, which means they effectively sat this one out. So why the veto? Well, the United States and the United Kingdom argued it wasn't really about principles, but more about a complicated web of strategic partnerships. They claim Russia and China shielded their ally because their relationships are so deeply intertwined, both militarily and economically. You've got a military supply chain running in both directions and this crucial economic lifeline through oil imports. It all creates a geopolitical alignment that, in this case, just outweighed the concerns of those other 11 nations. Look, this is so much more than just a diplomatic debate. The failure of this resolution has real, tangible consequences for everyone. So the crucial question is, why should this matter to you? The representative from the UK highlighted an absolutely staggering projection from the World Food Programme. They're saying the disruption in this single shipping lane could push an additional 45 million people into extreme hunger in just a matter of months. And the effects are already being felt. We heard representatives from all over the world,
from Pakistan to Panama, warning about major energy shocks, delayed fertilizer shipments that are messing with farmers' planting seasons, and just squeezed livelihoods for ordinary families thousands of miles away from the Middle East.
Ultimately, this whole debate just reveals a really deep fracture in the international community, and it places global security at a very dangerous crossroads. The U.S. representative left the council with a pretty chilling warning. This veto, they said, sets a dangerous precedent. It could potentially give a green light to a future where any nation could weaponize a vital global waterway just to get leverage in a conflict, basically holding the world economy hostage. And that's the deeply unsettling question this vote leaves us all with. The diplomatic path is blocked, the stakes are getting higher and higher, and the future of global cooperation feels, well, uncertain. What comes next is a question that, right now, nobody seems to have an answer for.